Good morning. On 13 June, President Joe Biden and Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine signed this document, a bilateral security agreement between the United States and Ukraine. The agreement calls for Ukraine's integration into NATO and the European Union. And in the past weeks, U.S. officials have been pushing defense contractors, weapons makers, very hard to outsource their munitions production to Ukraine. It's a long document, but we've got the most important bits. In the executive summary of this agreement, the United States and Ukraine reaffirm that Ukraine's future is in NATO. And to further move things along, we're going to be doing more research and development, science and technology, manufacturing of defense products, and sharing of intelligence between the two countries. There is a priority to build out Ukraine's defenses and make them interoperable with NATO forces. Then the second and third bullets, reorganization of command and control in accordance with NATO standards. It's a 10-year agreement, and it may be extended further, and it will be registered with the United Nations. Further down, we read that the United States and Ukraine realize that Ukraine needs significant military forces and big investments in its defense industrial base. The United States will provide long-term material, training, sustaining, intelligence, defense industrial and institutional support, and commits to support Ukraine in building a modern NATO interoperable force. We are engaging with global partners and defense industries to support Ukrainian production of weapons, ammunition, and equipment. That was in June, and since then the Pentagon and State Department have been busy. From Defense One, the Pentagon is pushing defense contractors to increase collaboration with Ukraine. A State Department guy says that our industry is really eager, but it has to make good business sense. U.S. weapons companies know that Ukraine is a war zone and the factory would be targeted by Russian forces well before the first weapons actually rolled off the production lines. And Western firms are also concerned about Ukraine's corruption. Zero Hedge has good links here of top officials from Ukraine using Western aid to enrich themselves. Another problem is long-term, like what happens if peace breaks out and the war ends and they've got these multi-billion-dollar investments that are dependent on the continuation of the war. So the idea is maybe to start small. Political risk insurance means that weapons makers don't want to be held personally liable for what is certain to happen, which is that they build a factory that gets bombed. They don't want to be blamed for that. And of course, it would be crazy to use their own money to do these projects. So naturally, they would be borrowing from United States taxpayers. And if the factories lose money or get blown up, it doesn't really cost them anything here either. So there are lots of problems to think about then. But Northrop Grumman is going ahead and will be producing ammunition in Ukraine. They're the first U.S. defense company to make weapons inside Ukraine at war. None of their employees will be actually in Ukraine, and Northrop will provide the equipment, training, and presumably lots of money to build assembly lines that can produce medium caliber ammunition. Steve O'Brien is Northrop's Global Business Development Officer. They're responsible for opening new markets for Northrop around the world. They're the first company to have co-production in Ukraine, producing in Ukraine and by Ukrainians. Until now, U.S. firms have been very reluctant to invest in Ukraine war material production because naturally it would be a priority target for Russian forces on the first day. So far, Northrop Grumman is the only company, and the others are still very reluctant to go and set up weapons production in a major war zone. This is a business channel. It's also an anti-war channel. Many of us here in China, and a lot of our viewers out there, are Christians. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." And being a son of God is something that Jesus would actually happen to know something about. It's been a long time since we've tried that, actually being peacemakers. And it's no coincidence that it's also been a long time since the United States has won a war. I realize, though, that this is a Christian point of view, and maybe this isn't your bag. Fair enough, so let's try it this way. I'm an American citizen, and there are things being done in my name as a citizen of the United States that need to stop. This right here is how a war can turn suddenly into a very big war. Our weapons manufacturers, our military industrial complex, the guys who make billions of dollars every year building guns and bombs and missiles that kill other human beings, that is their industry. And even they are saying that this is a stupid idea. The people who get rich from war are saying to slow down, that this is a stupid idea. Let's look at some pandas. This is Chengdu in Sichuan. Be good.
With all your soul, with all your mind, love your neighbor as yourself. Pray for those who hurt you. Love your enemies. Do unto others as you want others to do for you. Store up for yourself treasure in heaven,